Chocolate isn't just something we put in our mouths and give as gifts. It has become a part of our culture in many ways, some of them quite unusual. And for everyone in the United States today, chocolate is part of their history. The colonies were importing chocolate by the late 1600s. In the years leading up to the Revolutionary War, Benjamin Franklin sold chocolate in his print shop. In 1785, boxes of chocolates to choose from every February the 14th. Richard Cadbury may have also been partially responsible for all the chocolate eggs on the shelves at Easter. The notion of chicken eggs being used at Easter came from the seasonal birth of many animals during the spring, which coincided with the annual Easter feast. People throughout Europe took to creating elaborate egg-shaped objects to celebrate the season, making them out of everything from dough to diamonds. The famous Fabergé eggs created in Russia during the 1800s were made of gold and precious stones for Tsar Alexander III, who gave them to his wife as Easter presents. They have come to be valued as priceless pieces of art. With just about everything of value being shaped into eggs, it's no surprise that chocolate was also shaped into ovoids. That's the technical term for the egg-shaped things. In the early 1800s, confectioners in France and Germany started to mould soft chocolate into eggs. They used the same bitter chocolate used for making the cocoa drink, so we're not sure if people used the eggs as an interesting shape for preparing the beverage, or whether they might have tried to gnaw on them as well. When Richard and George Cadbury took over their father's company, chocolate had barely become an edible passion. The rival Fry Company had introduced the first chocolate bars for eating barely 14 years earlier, and those were hard, bitter slabs, but the Cadbury brothers were innovators, as soon as they were able to pour liquid chocolate into moulds in their factory, they created ovoid moulds. They introduced dark chocolate eggs in 1875, just in time for Easter. Richard oversaw the decoration of the eggs, which featured designs on the outside of the moulded chocolate. After Cadbury's introduction of the dairy milk bar in 1905 proved that milk chocolate appealed to nearly everyone who ate it, Cadbury started making milk chocolate versions of its eggs. These were followed by hollow eggs as well as eggs with sugar cream inside them, which were introduced in 1923. Cadbury cream eggs, which have evolved over the last 90 years, are now the biggest selling chocolate item throughout Britain. Between New Year's Day and Easter, the company makes more than 500 million every year. Wow. No discussion of chocolate and holidays is complete without Halloween. This holiday came about as the opposite of Easter, even though the name comes from All Hallows Eve, which signified the night before the Christian holiday of All Saints' Day. It was originally a holiday to celebrate the end of harvest. This was a time when the fields were cleared, animals started preparing for hibernation or migration, and winter was on the way. It all signalled the temporary death of nature, just as spring celebrated nature's rebirth. Christian tradition also chose this exact same time of the year to honour the souls of those who had died. Halloween and its ghoulish and ghostly rites thus both celebrated the change of seasons and marked the remembrance of the dead. Today's Halloween is a combination of rituals and pageants from many different countries. Going from house to house came from the Irish practice of celebrating the end of the harvest by visiting neighbours with lanterns carved from gourds or pumpkins. One legend has it that since it was dark at that time of the year, people wore disguises so that demons that haunted the night wouldn't recognise them or try to trick them. Throw in lots of other historical celebrations from all over the world, and we get the tradition of dressing up for Halloween and going from house to house to seek treats masks and costumes do. Nothing else will do for the millions of kids who go out in search of free treats every October the 31st. In retrospect, the scare was one of the best things that ever happened to the chocolate business. It meant guaranteed sales of millions of pieces of candy during a formerly slow period for chocolate purchases. Some people even believe that the whole scare might have been part of a conspiracy by the chocolate companies themselves, that chocolate executives started the rumours of poisoned fruit to convince people that their wrapped products were the only safe option at Halloween. It makes for an evil story of corporate bad guys that ties in nicely with the creepiness of Halloween, but no one has ever proven that it's true. Since we're on the subject of creepy things, chocolate had a starring role in one of the creepiest films of all time, Psycho. Considered one of the best horror movies ever made, it was directed by Alfred Hitchcock in 1960. Even though colour film was available, Hitchcock chose to film the movie in black and white to make Psycho look scarier. During filming, he laid out a scene where blood would be flowing down a bathtub drain. It was a dramatic part of the movie, but none of the fake Hollywood blood, usually red food colouring mixed with corn syrup, looked right in black and white. After trying various liquids, Hitchcock hit on one that looked perfect: chocolate syrup. It had the right amount of shine and dripped exactly as blood did. The on-screen blood was reportedly Bosco's syrup and not Hershey's. Hershey, however, got a lead role in the 1982 movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial, about an alien stranded on Earth that is trying to find its way home. One of the movie's plot points at the story's hero, 10-year-old Elliot, trying to lure the frightened E.T. to his house using a path made of candy. The script called for Elliot to use M&Ms. Director Steven Spielberg and his team approached the executives of Mars, Inc. about using M&Ms and possibly having Mars help to promote the movie. However, Mars, Inc., run at that time by Forrest's two sons, decided they didn't want anything to do with it. While the reason has never been fully revealed, it's believed that Mars, Inc. found the E.T. character an odd-looking, so odd-looking, and the movie's plot so weird that they felt their brand would be damaged by being part of it. So the filmmakers went to Hershey, which was selling a relatively new product called Reese's Pieces, like M&Ms, except filled with peanut butter. Reese's Pieces looked very similar to M&Ms. Because they had been introduced to the market only a little more than a year earlier, Reese's Pieces weren't well known by consumers. Hershey agreed to work with the E.T. team to not only provide the candy, but also do product tie-ins and advertising. This meant that Hershey would help pay for some of the movie's publicity in return for getting to use the image of E.T. on its Reese's products and in its advertising. And there's the Reese's Pieces packet. The week that the movie came out, sales of Reese's Pieces tripled. Many retailers sold out all their candy within days of the movie's opening. Movie houses all over America added the candy to the concession stands, right next to the popcorn. Reese's Pieces went on to become one of Hershey's most popular products, and E.T. went on to become one of the most popular movies in history. Chocolate itself has been the subject of several movies, the best known being Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. To this day, Willy Wonka is sort of chocolate's Wizard of Oz. People have used Wonka's Chocolate Factory as an example of the wonders of chocolate making since the original movie came out in 1971. Based on Roald Dahl's 1964 children's book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the movie was actually produced as a way to promote a candy bar that didn't even exist yet. Quaker Oats, best known as the company that makes breakfast food and granola bars, was looking to create a brand of candies in 1970. It met with some Hollywood producers who suggested using Dahl's book as the basis for a film that could feature Quaker Oats' new products. Quaker Oats loved the idea so much that it funded the making of the entire movie. The company even decided to name its new candy the Wonka bar and got Roald Dahl's permission to use the name. The Wonka bar would appear in the film, and to make the connection even more obvious, the title character of the film would be changed from Charlie to Willy Wonka, which is why the movie has a different name from the book. Years later, Quaker Oats got out of the candy business and sold the Wonka bar to Nestle. In 2005, Johnny Depp starred in another cinematic version of Dahl's book, which this time kept the original title. Coincidentally, Depp also starred in a movie called Chocolat, about a small chocolate shop in France that changes the lives of everyone who enters it. Chocolate might not actually change the lives of everyone who eats it, but there is a strange statistic that eating chocolate might help produce Nobel Prize winners. In 2012, the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the world's most respected medicinal publications, showed that countries with the highest consumption of chocolate also had the most Nobel Prize winners, relative to the size of their population. The report suggested that the flavonols in chocolate might affect the brain, and people who eat more of it might think bigger than others. Regardless of its benefits to our brains, chocolate is eaten because it tastes good. For many people who like to call themselves chocoholics, it is their favourite food. Those who truly love chocolate can never get enough and are always looking for more extreme chocolate experiences. Bakeries and ice cream shops regularly offer products to appeal to those who like their chocolate intense, thick and rich. Doubling or tripling up on the amount of cocoa or chocolate flavour leads to food with humorous names like Death by Chocolate or Chocolate Murder. This is supposed to be chocolate so intense that it's worth dying for. Not literally, but you get the idea. To keep chocolate lovers happy, every US state and most countries have annual chocolate fairs and festivals featuring chocolate in every imaginable size, shape and form, from handmade chocolates to chocolate sculptures and chocolate making competitions. These events are attended by millions of people every year. In short, chocolate has come a long way from being the drink prized by the Aztecs and kept secret by the royalty of Europe. Just about anyone who wants chocolate can get it at a nearby stall. Thanks to the tinkering of hundreds of men and women over the past 100 years, chocolate has become the world's most popular flavour and the world's favourite type of candy. While at one time it might have been the exotic and elite food of the gods, today it is the popular and enchanting food of everyone. So let's have a look at this chart here. So this is a chart which shows chocolate consumption versus Nobel Prize winners. So we can see America, 10 Nobel Prize winners, shall see